Hello and welcome to another episode of Dee's Media World. Today we're going to be talking about episode 4 of Inuyasha, Year of the Demon Hair. If you haven't seen the episode, the link will be below in the description box, so you can watch that first on YouTube and then you can come watch me and see what I think about the episode. So this episode is basically the conclusion to what happened in the last episode, where Kagome got pushed down the well, Yura pushed her down the well, or Yura tried to kill her and she fell down the well, however you want to look at it. Kagome's back at her own time for the first time since she went through the well in the first episode. And we find out that her grandpa, claims that the demons can't get through the well because he sealed it. And he sealed it with multiple scrolls and whatever. But as we'll see, that didn't really do anything because Inuyasha is easily able to get through, which I'm about to talk about in a second. So Kagome's reflecting on everything that's happened and how she's like, well, I guess I'm done with that. Like, this is probably maybe the only time I think in the show that she kind of is in denial about what just happened and sort of is like, oh, I'll just forget that stuff happened and moved on with my life. Yeah, it comes up again, but it comes up again for a different reason. Here she's just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to go back to my normal life and forget this all happened. In terms of Inuyasha going through the well, he goes through with no jewel shards. He also, it doesn't even matter if he has a jewel shard, as we learn on later. Kagome too did not have a jewel shard because Yura took hers right before she left. So this shows that both of them can go through the well to and back without jewel shards, and no other character in the show can actually do that. Even when even Yura can go, Yura's hair, interestingly enough, can go through the well and from the feudal ages to where they are now. And I think it's implied that because she had a jewel shard, she was able to do that. Kind of confusing because later on, when I get to it, I'll talk about it. But later on in the show, there's like a character who's in the well with jewel shards and doesn't go through the well. So I guess it's kind of a selective thing with the writers because it's kind of cute that only Inuyasha Kagome could go through the well. I mean, to be honest, I would think it'd be totally awesome to see an episode where Sango, Moroku, Shippo, Kilala are able to go through the well and visit Kagome's world. But anyway, back to this episode. Inuyasha comes in through the well, and the first thing, Kagome's family is odd. I'll tell you that because they don't react how a normal family reacts. Because as soon as they see Inuyasha comes in and basically is going to drag Kagome out, and they don't know who he is at all. He doesn't explain himself, and he's about to drag their daughter, and and the mom just comes up and like all she has to say, all she does is rubs Inuyasha's ear out of curiosity, and then Soda wants to do it afterwards. Like, wouldn't normal parents or family members be like wanting to fight him or something for trying to drag their daughter away? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just find that funny but weird. It works for the show because it works, but like in real life, there's no way a mom would be just like, oh, okay, you can drag my daughter away, stranger. Weird looking stranger on top of that. Anyway, Kagome and Inuyasha go back to the well, and it looks like she's the only one who can see the hair, which was established in the last episode that only her and Kaede can see it. And Inuyasha cannot see it at all. He can sense it. He has instincts with his because he's a dog demon, half dog demon, but he can't see the hair at all. And they go into the well area, and there's a bunch of hair fighting and attacking them from the other side. So Yura has like tons and tons of hair. Kagome helps Inuyasha fight the hair off by she sort of bends it. She brings it down so he can sort. He says he can see it. I guess he literally can see it when she does that. Maybe because she's actually touching the hair now. I suppose. I think that's what they were implying. Like, oh, she's actually physically touching the hair. I don't know. Maybe. They cut the well, and Kagome wonders to herself, like, why does Yura want me, or why is she doing this when she already took my jewel shard? And it turns out, yeah, she wants Inuyasha Kagome. She figures that out, and that makes sense. And because she's greedy. Because what's funny about Yura, as we see with this episode, she's a strange but very interesting demon in the show. And that's kind of one of the great things about Inuyasha in itself is that a character can be in one, maybe two episodes, and they can still be very memorable. I remember this character very well, and there are other demons in the show later on that I still remember, and they only were in one episode and barely were mentioned afterwards either. But in any case, if she just ran off and like took the jewel shard and like minded her own business, they probably wouldn't have found her for a while. But because she wanted to get Inuyasha's hair, and kill him too, kill Inuyasha and Kagome. That's kind of what leads to her downfall, as we see later. Um, so Inuyasha gives Kagome the fire rat kimono, or his coat that he wears, and it's supposed to protect Kagome, which really comes in handy in this episode because Inuyasha gives her the fire rat a couple times in the show, but this was definitely an episode she surely needed it. She would have been killed like 3 times if she didn't have it. Well, twice for sure. They go through the well. Inuyasha realizes that Yor actually has their jewel shard, and he gets pissed off about it. But they don't have time to argue about that. They come across this little area where there's like warriors or something, and it looks like their head's been cut clean off for Yor's hair recently, I suppose. Um, let's see. Kagome gets arrows. Hopefully she's hoping that will help. Of course, Inuyasha makes a wise crack and is like, "Oh, what do you need those for? Shouldn't you learn?" She says like, "Oh, I need to practice or something." He's like, "Well, shouldn't you mean learn first before you can practice?" And she takes the jewel shards with her. I mean the arrows with her. Um, they don't. It doesn't take long before they get attacked by Yura, and I'm not even sure if Inuyasha sniffs her out or she just sort of knows where they are, something like that. And they get attacked, and she basically drags Inuyasha up. He drops Kagome in that process, and drags she drags him up because she wants Inuyasha, and that's kind of what that is. I think it's really the way that Yura talks. Can we talk about that for a second? She's a very She's a very strange character. She just talks. The English version, especially, she speaks like a little girl in a way. Like she'll say like "Oh me, oh my," and what she say to Inuyasha? "You've been a naughty dog" or something. She keeps alluding that she's Inuyasha's master or something like that because he's a dog. It's actually really funny. But it's weird and it's kind of really interesting. It makes her a really interesting character. Um, let's see. She basically has Inuyasha almost for the most part a couple of times this episode. She cuts him, and because Inuyasha's demon, he gets out of it okay. But she cuts him like she practically impales him. She hits him like right around this area, not the heart, like above the heart. I'm like Inuyasha, as I was saying last time, is pretty much like indestructible because with or without the fire rat coat because she like stabs him a couple times and he's in pain at the end of it all, but he would have been dead if he was somebody else. Kagome like shoots the arrow at the I guess big clump of hair. I can't even describe it, a big clump of hair, and she sort of purifies it and stuff. We learned also that Yura is her body itself basically can't be killed. I don't know what she's made out of, dust or something, as we see at the end, because Inuyasha slashes her. Inuyasha he does blades of blood at her, which I think was the first time he's done that. He doesn't do it a lot, but this is the first time. Um, he and slices her and stuff, and she just comes back together. The hair just puts her back together. Long story short, Kagome almost gets killed because she gets burned. Technically, she would have been burned to death, but she was wearing the fire rat. Lucky her, right? And doesn't get burned to death. But she comes to and she finds we don't see her come to actually. One of the few times that happens, and she actually gets back into action at some point while Inuyasha's getting tortured and stuff. Comes into action, sees that there's like a red skull. Apparently, only she can see that as well. She can only see the hair, and she can only see the red skull, which kind of makes it interesting because Inuyasha can see Yura, but he can't see her hair or the red skull apparently. So I guess she's visible for some reason. I never thought about that until now. She sees that. She tries to get it. Yura basically tries to stop her. She even like ties Kagome up and would have slashed her arm off, but because she had the thing on again, the fire rat coat, she actually gets out of it pretty okay. Actually, the only thing she got was that scratch on her cheek from the last episode, in comparison to Inuyasha, who got stabbed like 2 or 3 times. Even Inuyasha goes straight through Yura's chest, which any other show this would have been probably like sexual or something, but in this show it actually was just funny and kind of it was something obviously Inuyasha did that had nothing to do with like what it looked like. He was obviously just trying to kill her. He's like, she's like, how dare you go through my chest when you don't even know me? He's thinking to himself, dang, this girl's still alive. Like that's Inuyasha's character. Um, Inuyasha gets stabbed a couple more times. Eventually, Yura gets exhausted. When Kagome notices the red skull that I mentioned, Yura actually then gets pissed off because for the most part, Yura is very calm and collected, and she's kind of done the riddles and talking all weird. It sounds like a little girl and stuff, and she's pretty much half naked for the most part. On top of that, but she actually starting to get pissed off when Kagome sees the red skull. Because I'm like, Kagome, this is really proof that Inuyasha and Kagome do need each other. Because neither one of them would have been able to do this mission on their own. Inuyasha couldn't do it by himself because he can't see anything. He can only like hear basically the hair. I don't even know if he can feel it too, I guess, but he can only hear it. Kagome can see, but she also can't really fight at this point. Like she needs Inuyasha. Inuyasha is basically a distraction for Kagome, so she can get the skull and break it. But she basically stabs the thing in half or whatever, or in the middle, and we find out that Euro is basically a demon comb, or basically a puppet of the demon comb, as Inuyasha says. Which is really interesting because it's like this is maybe the first. This is definitely the first time that a demon is alluded to being an actual object. Like she's her actual essence is a comb, I guess, and it used to comb the hair of the dead, or so, and that's interesting. Like who would think that there's a comb that combs the hair of the dead, and that it's a demon comb, and that it's a puppet girl or a girl who can control people with hair. Like it's so creative. And that's one of the things I love about the show. It's so creative. Like who thinks of stuff like that? Who thinks that this comb is combs the hair of the dead and everything? I don't know. Only Inuyasha, right? Um, this and then it ends with it ends. Inuyasha finally calls Kagome by her actual name, and I think that's all he calls her after this. Instead of calling her, I don't even think he called her anything else this episode. Like the last episode, he called her stupid, but this episode, no, he does call her stupid a couple times. He insults her a little bit because Yura is like, "Oh, what was this?" She's saying something like, "Oh, you're protecting that girl," and he was like, "Or no, you're her dog or something," and he's like, "You think I would be following that stupid girl or useless girl or something?" But anyway, he calls Kagome at the end of this. This is around the time that Inuyasha Kagome. It's not this episode. I wouldn't say, but soon enough, they'll be actually friends at some point. Like they'll actually start to trust each other, and that takes a little while. But the show never spends too long putting those two together. And the episode ends with Kaede wondering if Inuyasha will remember where she's buried. But another thing I almost forgot was, speaking of Kaede, why was she talking to herself when she was lying down in the dirt? I guess she had nothing else to do because she's basically saying, "Oh, Inuyasha, Kagome, you need to work together. Inuyasha, you need Kagome because she can see whatever she was saying." And I'm like, why is she talking to herself? Inuyasha's not going to be listening. I'm curious how far away she was from the fight, though. I know she couldn't hear it, and it probably didn't know the distance, but it probably wasn't that far because it probably wasn't far at all, actually. Probably just a different direction. But I actually found that really funny. Overall, this is one of my favorite episodes because Yura is such a funny character. She's such an odd character, and at the end of the video, actually, I wanted to put some pictures of cosplay I saw online for this character, and that's another great thing I was saying. You can do cosplay for a lot of characters in this show. They have unique looks. So that's all. She kind of does look like she's from a fairy tale. I mean, Inuyasha's called a feudal fairy tale. This is kind of a fairy tale villain kind of character. Just a weird. I mean, minus the clothes, but the character itself is kind of odd. But I really enjoyed this episode. I think it's definitely one of my favorites in terms of filler, which I will talk about probably in another video. What's considered filler in Inuyasha? Because as you know, Inuyasha has 193 episodes in total, plus 4 movies. There has to be filler in there somewhere. And yeah, this is kind of sort of filler. It's only not filler because it kind of concludes Inuyasha and Kagome's relationship a little bit, as at least several. So, have a nice day. Next time.